Hi, everyone. This is Lorraine Reguly from Wording Well. And today I am going to be chatting with Ryan Biddulph, who you may know already as the blogger from Paradise. And Ryan was just in Thailand for the last, I think it was 6 weeks or so. And then last week he went to New Zealand, which is where he's streaming from right now. And I am in Canada, in Thunder Bay, Ontario. So we're like on opposite sides of the world at the moment. And I see Ryan's joined us. Hi, Ryan. How's it going?
Lorraine, how are you?
I'm good. It's such a pleasure to be able to talk with you in person.
Likewise. Thanks so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it. And greetings from New Zealand.
And I'm so glad that we're able to chat because you and I have a mutual friend, Maxwell Ivy, also known as the Blind Blogger. And when he wrote his last book, he included a chapter fully devoted to meeting you in New York. So, you know what, let's just start off there and tell me what that was like, because I knew that you were home, I think, for Christmas, the holidays that year, December 2016. And he was there because he won Amtrak's Writers in Residency Award. And he was able to pick to go like anywhere in the world. And he chose to go to New York over the holidays. So what was meeting Max like? Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure thing, Lorraine. And again, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Max is such an interesting guy because sometimes when we're online, we forget that we're interacting with human beings. And of course, doing live chats like this or just seeing people on video is one thing, but seeing him in person was incredibly inspiring because we know, it's one of his things. He's blind, it's the blind blogger, and you go back and forth. But then when you see him in person, you're like, he is such an inspired individual. Like, because we know obviously he can't see, but when you see like the day-to-day, like as soon as I met him, we met right by Columbus Circle, and put his hand on my shoulder, and off we went. And it was just such a fascinating experience because he is so down home, he's so warm, he's so heart-centered, and he has conquered maybe the most scary fear for most of us, and that's to go through the world without the ability to see, right? I mean, all of us, that's really one of our big ones. I mean, we live so much with the senses. So just sitting down with him was such an inspired, empowered experience, and he's so warm, he's so heart-centered, he's so genuine, and he had so many awesome things to say about you, as we all do, which was really, really neat. So like anything, just meeting these friends of yours through a different medium, either online chat or in person, it is such an incredibly empowering, inspiring, and really fun thing to do. So whenever you have the chance, do it, because meeting Max was just like one of my highlights, because he's like probably the most inspiring blogger I've ever met. And again, seeing in person his deal, I'm like, wow, this guy's unreal. He's a superhero, like I said in the post.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. I mean, I have chatted with Max over Facebook Messenger, over the telephone, over Skype. I love talking with him. He always has so many different stories to tell. And I interviewed Max years ago when I first met him, which was it was through a blog comment of a guest post that I wrote. And I was just flabbergasted that a blind man was using like computers and leaving blog comments and actually blogging himself. And so that was really cool. And I totally understand what you mean about him being inspiring, because he does have a super inspirational story. I mean, going from being over 500 pounds to down to 250 in a matter of just a few years, and then writing a book about his weight loss journey, starting businesses and becoming an entrepreneur. I mean, he's just an incredible, incredible man. And, I've been his editor for all 3 books that he's written. And, I've gotten to know him really well over the years. And over the years, I've also gotten to know you a little bit, again, through blog commenting and through social media and chatting on Facebook. And, on Twitter and everything else. So that's been really cool too. It was you who inspired me to take my dream trip just a little over 2 years ago. Looking at all of the pictures of palm trees and beaches and everything on your blog just made me really, really want to see palm trees in person. And for the average person out there, it might not seem like a big deal to see a palm tree, but I live in Canada, and where I live, it's pretty much winter, like 6 months of the year, if not longer. We don't have palm trees here. I've never seen one, if we do. So I mean, I'm used to looking at like piles of snow and everything else. And when I took that trip back in the end of February to March 1st, back in, let's see, I guess it would have been 2016. That was just the most amazing week of my life in like the last decade. And I was listening to you, and I was listening to, how you said, like, use the visualization technique and use the law of attraction and just keep, imagining yourself on that trip. And so, I started taking the steps. I went and I applied for my passport, and I went and, I started visualizing it. And it was kind of funny how it all worked out, because I was at the pool with my little nephew one day, looking at the palm tree that was painted on the wall and sitting in the whirlpool thinking, oh, it would be so nice to have this be a real palm tree and, feel like have this warmth be actually coming from a sun and lying on a beach. And a couple days later, my brother sent me a text on Facebook saying, hey, my girlfriend and I are going down to the Dominican Republic for a week. You want to come? And I was like, yeah. And so, it's just proof that the visualization technique works and the law of attraction works. And, I have you and Kelli really to thank for that. So thank you in person from me to you. I appreciate that. And thanks for letting me share about my experiences with taking that dream vacation on your website in that article. I'm very honored you let me write that and post that there.
Loved it. It was such a great post, and it's such a perfect example of someone who just, it's so uncomfortable in moments to like make these freeing, fun choices, because we're so programmed to get a job, pay bills. It's like most of us, especially in the Western world, have been programmed to live in survival mode. Put food on the table, put a roof over your head, and then that's good, and that's enough. And when we start moving away from that, all these fears are going to come up in our minds, but you start to realize, and you experience it too, Lorraine, it's really an inside-out deal. You do the visualizing, you set an intent, you're like, I'm going to do this, and then over time, you get clearer and clearer. It flows to you, and I think it was so interesting you mentioned the palm tree, because that was one of my big things. As you probably know, we have no palm trees in New Jersey, so right. We do get pretty warm weather during the summer, but it's kind of similar, not quite as cold as you guys, but 3 to 4 months, it's pretty cold. And then December, during the solstice, it gets dark at about 5 after 4, which is very depressing in the afternoon. And it's just one of those deals where I thought, you know what? The last vacation I took was 1989, before I flew to Bali in 2011. I'm like, I have to, the traditional American, work, 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 and you get all 5 days a year. And it's your badge of just honor. It's just such an honor to rack up all your vacation days. And then when you've retired, you'll have 6 months of vacation, but you never used it, so you get paid for it. And it's a sickness. It's a mental freaking illness. So I'm like, let me break that mold, however uncomfortable it's going to be, however much programming I have to purge, however the employee programming, do this for this long, get a check, everything's okay. And it was just me sharing my story through Blogging in Paradise and seeing you going for the vacation, seeing how much growth you've had with your blog and your business. We could all do this if we want to. It's just slowly and patiently sharing the story with other folks and having them open up to it and following your dreams and following your passion, even if it will usually take you through a lot of deep fears. And that's really where everything delicious is happening in our lives.
And that's so true, because, for a long time, I used to have this mental block that, oh, this is just, a dream vacation of mine. This is a dream. This is never going to come true. And, and once I got past that mentality of thinking, It's only a dream. It's never going to be a reality. Once I started realizing, you know what, I can easily make this a reality. Like I said, I started taking steps. I got the passport. I, started visualizing what I actually wanted. And it was just amazing. I mean, super amazing. And so, yeah, I mean, it's totally possible for anyone out there listening that you have a dream and you want to make it come true. You know what? Start thinking of all the different steps that it's going to take for you to get there. And one by one, start making actions towards those steps. Start ticking those steps off your list. And so you will get closer and closer to your goal. And that really applies for any kind of goal that you have. So with that, I want to kind of jump over to Ryan, because Ryan used to be a security guard. And we don't really know his total, how he transitioned from security guard to blogger who does house sitting and travels the world doing both. So tell us about how you got started from, go from when you were a security guard, Ryan, to like where you are now and how you got started in that.
Sure thing, Lorraine. Yeah, I was, goodness gracious. Over 10 years ago, I was a peer guard at Port Newark, Port Elizabeth, the really world famous area. It looks just like the background here in New Zealand, not in Newark, New Jersey. No. I was a security guard and I was fired. I was let go. They downsized. One of the great, most phenomenal moments of my life. And my wife, Kelli, at the time, she was exploring this online world. She said, you can make money online, run an online business. Totally new to me. I didn't know SEO from CEO. I just knew how to check ESPN.com in my email. And that's the honest truth. I knew nothing about blogging. I didn't know what a blog was. I remember looking it up and saying, what is this weblog thing?
Kelli, your friend, like in real life that got you started is, because I know you end up marrying Kelli. So, I mean, you obviously met at some point in real life. So tell us about Kelli and how that all.
Sure thing. Yeah. Well, we actually in a lovely little town called Hoboken, New Jersey, which is the hometown of the famous Frank Sinatra. And this was actually a few years before we started doing the blogging bit, and each of us in our respective niches. But yeah, that was a real freak thing, because quote unquote a freak thing, but it shows again when you're aligned with someone how it's going to come together. I had taken off a day from work. I never took off from work. You can't take off. You got to make all the overtime and all this, that, the other thing. So I took a day off, and there was probably like 3 different events that aligned. I went to an area I'd never go to, like a city in the north in New York, when you always go down, or in New Jersey rather, when you always go down to the Jersey Shore. Then there was a couple things that happened, a couple cancellations, and at that night, and it was just, it's like anything in life, Lorraine, when it happens really naturally and easily and almost effortlessly, it's like you're a match to it. And that's how we both felt, like right away. It was very casual. There was no there was no second guessing or what. So it all happened very naturally and smoothly. So we got together then and we started dating, and everything was very seamless. And then a couple years down the road was when I started with the online business bit. But the thing is, right off the bat, I had no idea what I was doing, and I struggled for a long time. I switched niches. I bought my domain and hosting, which is a really important step. But I was kind of doing the make money online niche. Then I was doing more like affiliate marketing, inspiration. Things didn't really pop, even though I made a full-time income through my old blog and I started the travels. Things didn't really pop until I created Blogging from Paradise in 2014. And I ran across a travel blog.
I read that you had started a few different blogs and you ended up, just completely deleting them once you started Blogging from Paradise. And I thought, like, that really takes guts, because when you're so invested in a website and, all these blog posts that you've written and everything that you have done up to that point, to just completely delete your websites and basically delete that part of your life. I mean, that must have been both terrifying and yet exhilarating at the same time, to be able to start fresh with something that you just knew in your heart was going to be the right thing to do.
You know what the old site was? The 3,400 blog posts, the old blog, the cash flow streams. It was was an energy anchor. It was like trying to run up like one of these mountains in the distance here in New Zealand, like run up 5 miles with like 10,000 pounds on my back, because all that stuff is what I had outgrown, and I was unclear, and I was doing it kind of from a place of fear predominantly. So when I let that go, it was so empowering and inspiring and freeing, and that's why Blogging from Paradise took off right away. But it was still scary. But then, like you said too, it was so empowering and freeing and fun. And we always know this in our heart, like our divine center, our heart, it knows everything forever. It's infinite. But our minds say, oh my God, and people are sending me emails. Why are you letting go? Here, I could give you a hack to help you hold on to the 3,400 posts. But that was the energetic anchor. We always let go to grow. We always and surrender to really take off. And you see so few people do this. But that's why it's so important to surround yourself only with people pretty much who are living their dreams, because these people will show you the power and release, whereas everybody else will show you what happens when you hold on to what you've outgrown. So that's really what made everything take off. And I'd seen a couple travel bloggers, and so many of them had struggled to make an income, and they had to come back home and work. And I'm like, wow, I could just do Blogging from Paradise. And the domain was there, which I couldn't believe that I got it for friggin' $15, like the base domain. And I got an email from somebody from Australia a couple hours after I bought it. Dude, I was trying to buy that domain. Alignment, alignment. This is how you let go. Things that don't make sense logically. Logically, it doesn't make sense. But the intuition in your heart, it doesn't do things by logic. It does things through love and alignment and perfection. So it's like, I did that, and then things started to take off. And there were still some ups and downs with it as I was growing it. But just creating content, building connections, making friends, having fun doing what I'm doing. These are the fundamentals that help you build a successful blog. And it's how I built a successful blog and got featured on really rocking sites and grew my income and had the interview requests come in, and how I got the idea to write the 126 bite-sized ebooks. So it's all about that energy.
When did you start Blogging from Paradise? When was that website born?
That was born when I was in Sabu Sabu, Fiji in July of 2014.
2014, eh? Okay, that's the same year that Wording Well was born. I had been blogging on WordPress.com for about a year, about 13 months. And yeah, because I started in January of 2013 on a free website. And the fourth blog post I ever wrote ended up ranking really high on Google, because I had just gotten a new computer and I was trying to figure things out. And for some reason, I downloaded something and I got this malware. And so it was the Visual Bee toolbar, or the VB toolbar. And I luckily found a solution. And so I wrote about my whole entire experience. And even though I was on WordPress.com, that post still ranked like on the first page of Google. And that's kind of what put me on the map in, I guess, Google's eyes. So when I started writing about my personal experiences, like my suicide attempt, for example, or about the fact that I had false teeth, I mean, those are two posts that ranked like super high as well. And I didn't really pay any attention to my statistics until I actually, it was around the time I had started as a freelance writer. I blogged to my own site, and that's when Wording Well was born. It was born in February 2014. So, and I think that was probably like around the same time that we had all met, like you, Max, me, all of the other kind of bloggers in our circle, you know, like Donna Merrill, Adrienne Smith, who is no longer blogging, but at least she's still around on social media. You know, all of our friends, you know, kind of online there. And so it's just kind of cool how that was an interesting year for everybody. And now look at us 4 years later, and we're still doing what we love. And, you know, both of us are authors now. I mean, you have, oh God, I've lost count. Have you lost count too? Like, I know it's over 125.
Yeah, it's 126. I stopped just to start promoting them somewhat and focused on guest posting and video and podcasts a number of years ago. But yeah, 126 bite size. They're all short reads. most of
Right.
them
So
just,
about how long, how many like words are we talking? Are we talking like 10,000 words?
yeah,
5,000?
the most, there are a couple, I think there are like about 10 maybe, they're like 15,000, which are still pretty short reads. But then most of them are just long form blog posts where it's like 6,000, 8,000. And folks are like, just get the practical tips out there, because we know so many bloggers, they want to get the mindset stuff to get through their mental blocks, and then simple practical tips, because we know, Lorraine, it's doing simple things persistently that brings greater and greater success.
Exactly.
So I'm like,
And
why don't I put them in a bunch of ebooks, all the stuff I know and all the stuff I've learned. And I've also added a lot of travel ebooks about my wild experiences from circling the globe for 7 years, and then some inspirational ones too, because you learn stuff when you're on the road or just when you're at home and you just go through life and you chase your dreams. You're going to run into a lot of mental blocks. So you could share stuff that will inspire people on their journey. And that's really what I'm all about now, having fun and doing things with love and just helping people knife through their fears to live their dreams too through blogging.
so with 126 ebooks on 126 different topics, I know there's a little bit of overlap, but do you see yourself writing more ebooks in the future?
No, not really, just because at the time I felt inspiration when I really went on a blitz. I wrote and self-published the 6,000 word ebook every day in Bali for 3 months in a row. And I was like, this is good enough. This is definitely enough. There's enough stuff out there, because I wanted to make sure there was some overlap too, because we as bloggers or as human beings, we get a lesson from an ebook, and then what do we do sometimes? Because we're human, and I do it too. We run away from it. But then if somebody buys 5 more and they see follow your passion in this ebook, follow your passion. Oh, now I get it after reading this 5th ebook. I should follow my passion and not chase the profits like 99% of other bloggers out there. So that overlap is literally like a hammer, me hitting, with some of the topics, and it's the fundamentals again and again and again. And it's just, we try to make things complex when we come from an energy of fear and not love and scarcity and not abundance. And then you see it's doing these things, detaching, not worrying about the outcomes, and surrendering, releasing. And then that's where all this, and I'll show you a quick view, guys. That's where this happens. And I'm in Apatiki, New Zealand right now. And that's the South Pacific.
Gorgeous.
That's the South Pacific. And this is Hobbiton right here, right? In the distance. I mean, it's just believable. And we're going to live here for a month doing house sitting. We're watching 2 dogs, and they're so easy to watch too. It's simple, again and again and again and again. And I think it's such a difficult point for most to embrace, because they think it's complex. They think it's just, working yourself to the bone, and it's really, really not. I mean, you're going to persist and it's going to get uncomfortable, but if you'll just see it through, and like you said, years we've been doing this, I mean, this is 3, 4, 5 years. It gets uncomfortable sometimes because we stay in our mind.
It does get frustrating because, you're doing the same thing over and over and over, and you get kind of like, okay, well, you know what? I'm sick of writing blog posts, or I'm sick of doing this. I'm sick of promoting on social media, or, like there's so many different factors and responsibilities that bloggers have, that it's easy to get kind of burnt out and tired, and like you need a break. I mean, it's been like almost 4 months now since I've posted anything new on Wording Well. And it's not because I don't have material. I mean, I have like 53 drafts in my folder in my actual website dashboard. And I have, I think, another, including them, I think there's like 72 or 73 or something on my computer. I mean, they're just like waiting to be, they're in different processes, different areas of completion. Some are almost done, some are half done, some are started. But it's not for lack of material or ideas. It's just for lack of motivation and energy and willingness to want to do it, because, like you get tired of doing the same thing all the time. And I know that when you were writing your ebooks, like you were on a spree, like I guess you were house sitting in Bali for an extended period of time, and you were just like kind of bored, like, what am I going to do? I'm just going to write a whole bunch of ebooks. So
yeah,
that's what you did,
it was
right?
like consciousness. It was like stream of consciousness. Like every morning I'd wake up and you're in this place and it's like, you know, it's crazy, Lorraine, but like just with the meditation and the yoga and diving into my fears, it just opened up so much to where I just received this intuitive pull to like do it. Do almost like the Nike thing, just do it, but do it and write this ebook. And then my mind said, oh no, I'm supposed to do a promotional blitz after every ebook so I can get so much, I can get so much, I can get, and the universe said, shut the heck up and give, and then give, and then give, and then give some more, and then give some more. Give so much that you realize that the more you give away, the more your thoughts increase. And I was like, oh my God, that's a whole different mindset from giving till it hurts. I guess that's probably not true. And the universe was like, yeah, Ryan, trust us. So it's like I kept just writing. Oh, squeakers.
Yeah, I felt her by my legs, and she was about to just start like.
Oh, I'm glad squeakers made an appearance.
Squeak, say hi to everybody. Oh, on video.
Hey. We're going viral, folks.
You want to go down?
So
well, I closed the curtains in behind me, and that's where you can see there's like a little thing on that side. That's her climbing post. So if I actually like I kicked her out of there earlier because she was climbing up on the curtains, and I want it to just be like a, you know, a nice peaceful background without squeakers going crazy, jumping up and down and everything. So she's like, well, why can't I go up on the, you know, up on the window and look out? So now she's just laying on the floor. Usually she's sleeping when I tend to do podcasts or, you know, interviews or anything on video. She's usually pretty quiet. So she's just reminding me that she's here and, you know, needs my attention every now and then. She's a cool cat.
Exactly. Exactly. They know. They'll pull back for a bit, and then finally they'll be like, okay, all right, Mom, let's give me some love here.
So
that's awesome.
Let's circle back to Kelli, because I'm really curious about how, like, the whole story behind you two kind of hooking up, and Kelli being a life coach and having her own website, and then you, because I didn't know Kelli until I met you. That's how I met Kelli, was through you. And I mean, I go on Facebook one day and all of a sudden I see I am engaged. Kelli and I are getting married, and I'm like, oh my God. Okay, so like, who's Kelli? And, you know, so talk about Kelli for a bit. We're kind of, I think, all interested in learning a little bit more about her.
Sure. Yeah, she's my wife. She's from area where I'm from in New Jersey, like north central New Jersey. And we just met after that, really a period, both of us. We met after we were kind of doing our own thing for a while. And I think that really brought the detachment again. When you're detached, you don't want something to happen more than anything. It tends to happen because you'll align. It's just, you know, letting go. But when we did, we were kind of doing the online bit for a while and just enjoying life. And I realized over those months and years that she was the perfect match for me because our personalities really vibe so well. She has great wisdom. She's very loving. And she also has passion and fire. I think that's a really, really phenomenal aspect of her personality. So she was able to walk me off the ledge many, many times, almost literally, unfortunately, but you know, and figuratively. And just the first day I bought my domain and hosting, 3 hours in, I remember I bought my domain and hosting. I put down $500. I paid for the year. I joined like some opportunity or whatever, and I spent like $500-600. And I didn't have anything at the time, basically. I really didn't have much more after that. And I remember researching for like 2 hours on the front page, page one of Google for internet marketing, because that was the first niche I was working into. And I look at her and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I just wasted $700. And it was like a moment of sheer panic and terror. Like, what the heck did I just do? I just made the biggest mistake of my life. And I was going on for like 20 minutes, and I'm like, I got to get my money back. I got to get my money back. Just so you know, guys, see how confident I was in the beginning and see how lucky I was. You know, so she just walked me off the cliff, and she's like, listen, you know, it takes time to learn these skills. It's like when people come to me and they're like, you know, well, I'm a former teacher, or I'm a teacher. And I'm just like, yeah, I was a fired security guard, and, you know, I'm doing this now. You learn skills and you get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So that was really one of the more just phenomenal points in our relationship. And we've had so many since, and she's just really an insightful. She runs a thriving coaching business at livelifemadeToOrder.com. Very insightful, very compassionate, heartfelt, and really knows her stuff. And I think one of the cool things about her blog, she does life coaching and talking about the LOA from an energetic perspective, moving towards love and, embracing the fear, embracing the yuck and, hugging it, however unpleasant it is and letting it go. She has a real practical, down home, like authentic, genuine approach to the LOA, where we know it's about love.
Books on the topic too, right? Like she has a series of ebooks.
She's written, I believe, 4 or 5 that she has on Amazon. She's created multiple products. We even co-created a product together that's available on her blog. And I think it's available on my blog too, I think. I'm trying to remember if I linked to it. I know I've linked to it in the past. But yeah, we've created products together, and it's just, she's really good at making these concepts simple and powerful, so you could read and apply and understand where the light bulb goes off. And you're reading her post and you're like, oh my God, I'm doing that, or oh my God, I'm being that. And it really, more than anything, following her blog and listening to her courses, it's about things start to click. And I think it's something that we experience.
Totally true, because it was her blog and her website that really helped me understand the laws of the universe and the laws of attraction and the power that they have. And I ended up, when I was writing From Nope to Hope, which is my latest book, I had a chapter here. Chapter 9 is use meditation, the law of attraction, and visualization. That's chapter 9 in my book. And I referenced you and Kelli. If you remember, I had asked your permission about using like certain things in the book. And that chapter is available on my website for free, because like
Awesome.
you, I like to give as well. And I had wished that I had these techniques and knew about these techniques so long ago. Because chapter 8, the previous chapter, is all about positive affirmations. And it wasn't until I started blogging that I learned about positive affirmations. And I mean, as a suicide attempt survivor, I wish I would have had that coping strategy or that technique to use way back when. And so when I started learning about positive affirmations, I actually I did a guest post on Francesco Nicasio's blog, and this was back in, I think, like 2014 or 2015, and I had started using them. I was really skeptical at first, so I started using them, and like within like a short period of time, I started seeing their power and the positive effects on my life. And so, I kept using them over the years. And then when I decided to write my book, From Nope to Hope, that was actually in response to that post that I wrote about my suicide attempt that ended up ranking really high on Google. Because I saw that over 500 people a day were reading that article and looking for tips and, tricks and whatever to try and like rid themselves of this depression and these like major all-consuming suicidal thoughts and everything. And so I, in a blog post, like, you can only include so much information without it, eventually turning into a book. And, I mean, when I wrote my book, I mean, geez, it's like over 300 pages long. So you can just imagine how long of a blog post that would have been. So that's why I wrote that. And then, after I wrote it, I thought, like, I have to put some of this up for free on my website, like, just because this information shouldn't be kept a secret. Like, it should be shared with other people, and I shouldn't charge money for it. I should just share it willingly. And so positive affirmations and, the meditation, law of attraction, visualization, all of those concepts, they're so powerful and they work so well. And, Kelli's blog, is it Life Made to Order, right? Life Made to Order?
Yes, actually, the URL is Live Life Made to Order. Yep.
Live Life. Okay, right. So Live Life Made to Order. So Kelli ended up, helping me really kind of understand those concepts and apply them more to my life. And it's just amazing, like you said, she's really a smart person. She is a good teacher too, because I was able to completely understand and start applying those techniques to my life, and and then sharing them with other people. So yeah, I mean, thank Kelli for me
I
later too when
will.
you get, tell her that I said hi, and thank her for me for that as well. Because I don't really see much of her on social media for some reason. I mean, we are
No,
friends on Facebook. It's just I think she's just probably too busy with her business to, interact with everybody. And I know everybody's a different type of person. I know you're a very social person, as am I. So I don't know if Kelli's more of an introvert and you're the extrovert.
yeah. Social's not her gig. Yeah, social's not her gig. And we've done a couple videos and stuff like that, but yeah, it really doesn't resonate with her as much. And believe it or not, I know this is probably difficult for folks to embrace, but I used to be really shy, like painfully shy for many, many years. But my path and my journey was about me embracing fears and letting them go. And for me, it was more about opening up. But everybody's journey is going to be different, and they'll find their inspiration and their pull towards doing whatever really vibes with them, and whatever they're in this meat suit, aka body, during this life experience to experience. So yeah, no, it's really been interesting, and she knows her stuff, and like you said, she's a good teacher, and that's what so much of it comes into online too, being able to teach folks, to share what works with you, and to do it generously. And the more we raise our vibe, it really is all an energy game. Blogging, any niche life, you raise your vibe, just through certain techniques, through embracing your fear and feeling it and releasing it. And then that's where things start to open up more and more, and you listen to your intuition, and you follow your fun, and you feel more detached. And that's when things really start to pop.
And that's so true, Ryan, because a few years ago when Sylvia Nuccio asked to feature my story as an exclusive kind of thing on her blog, I was completely terrified. I had mentioned, here and there, and in a minor mentions in blog posts that I had written about, the fact that I had been raped when I was a virgin, and I had gone through, different things like drugs and prostitution and being a single mom at the age of 18, being pregnant at 17 and different things like that. And when she featured my story on her website, she titled it "Rape, Drugs, and Prostitution: One Blogger's Journey to Success." All I could focus on was the fact that, oh my God, people are going to know that I was a prostitute and they're going to shun me. That was my big fear. Like, they're going to look at me and think like, oh, she's dirty. And, oh, how could she even do that? And, and it's like, I was so surprised at the comments that I got on that blog post, and the reactions from everybody. They're like, Lorraine, I can't believe you overcame all that stuff, and you completely changed your life, and now you own a business, and now you're blogging, and writing books, and like doing all of these other things, and following your passion with writing, and you're such an inspiration to other people. And I was just, I mean, to this day, like, it just still astonishes me, because I have those roadblocks in the back of my head, but that's because of, what I've gone through and what I've experienced. I mean, at that period of my life, I lost friends because of what I was doing, and I was looked down upon. And so those fears that I had were completely valid. And yet the online community is so much more accepting and so much more willing to, I think, forgive a person for their mistakes, or for bad choices that they made, or for even, consequences that happened. Because my life, back then, when I was a teenager, like, it went from, I was a virgin and I was raped. So that trauma went from me not knowing how to cope to turning to drugs and drinking to try and cope and numb those negative feelings and all of the emotional pain I was in, to me trying to commit suicide, to me becoming promiscuous, and my whole belief system of sex and love was all jumbled in my head because I was brought up as a Catholic and I was taught to save my virginity till marriage. And then, going through this trauma alone and not having anyone to talk to or to tell or to, to like help me deal with it, was really horrible. And so, one tragic event led to a snowball effect of all these negative events, which, culminated in prostitution and single motherhood. And, like I quit school and, everything else. And it was just a whole negative, really bad time of my life. And then, things all changed eventually. And, I kind of divide my life up into like the first 40 and the second 40, even though I don't know how old I'm going to live to be, but it was the first 40 that was really horrible for me. And it wasn't until I was like 40, 41, that my son and we started to repair our relationship. And then, I bought my laptop and got into blogging and, then started freelance writing and then started my business and then became an author. And so all of these good things happened, in that period of time. And it just kind of goes to show you that no matter what you've been through, you can pursue your dreams and you can make them come true. And for me, it was always, like I wanted to pursue a writing career. And it wasn't until, I became a high school math and English teacher. I did that for a while. And, I worked as different other jobs, waitressing and, things like that. I mean, just like you, like you did security and you did all these other things before you became a blogger. And so, now you're pursuing your own dreams and following your passions and listening to the universe and your gut and your heart and doing, what feels right. And that's exactly what I'm doing too. And I think that's why we're so connected with one another, is because we are on that same wavelength. We are both doing good for ourselves and for other people. We are serving the community. We are giving back to, to those who need it, who need our guidance. I mean, and that's I think, something that's really wonderful. So on that note, I'm going to ask you how because we're both freelance writers, and that's one of the things that we did have in common way back when. So are you still doing freelance writing and getting paid for it? Or are you just doing guest posting? And how did you get involved with freelance writing?
Yes, I'm still, sure. Yeah, I still am. I'm still doing freelance writing. It doesn't take up as much of my attention and energy now because I'm promoting the ebooks and my courses and coaching services and just doing so much guest posting and sponsor posts and ad revenue, all that other stuff. But yeah, I mean, basically, again, thank you, Kelly. I think she's taking a nap here in New Zealand. Still getting over the jet lag from Thailand. That shows you how far out we are. 6 hours. New Zealand is 6 hours east of Thailand, time zone wise. So that's why.
Right. And you're 17 hours ahead of me, because here it's like 11:45 midnight. And I think it's just coming up on supper time the next day where you are, right? Like 4:45 right now in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's 4:45 right now. It is 4:45 on Tuesday afternoon. It's almost dinner time. Yeah,
and I'm still on Monday here. I'm still Monday night. Like my Monday's not even over yet. I still have 15 minutes left of Monday, and you're already like more than half done your Tuesday. So that's
always like to tell people when I'm here, tomorrow's going to be great. Trust me, I've lived it already. But I think the cool thing is with Kelly, again, with the freelance writing, I've been writing it pretty solid. This is years ago. And she's like, you should really do this, freelance. And at the time, I think it was something like, wasn't even freelancing as much as like writing for, was it Demand Studios? Weren't they one of the companies where people are writing for? I think it was Demand. And I was putting articles on Livestrong, stuff like that. So she goaded me out. But then from there, after writing for a couple clients, she's like, yeah, maybe, you know, shop your work around to people. And that gave me the nudge, even though I felt really uncomfortable that I wasn't good enough to get paid for it, where I kind of put my stuff out there. People reached out to me, and then I started to build a little client base. You know, individuals I ghost wrote, which I can't mention. It was ghost written, but I ghost wrote a best-selling ebook on Amazon for a very competitive category. And I'm like, oh, shoot, you know, I could keep doing this. So it kind of grew. And then I pulled back on it a little bit, but I'm still doing it now. And in some cases, it's been in the past paid guest posting, which is really sweet. But really, ultimately, it's like if you love writing, you can prosper through it, and you could be a freelance writer. Of course, you want to write and write and write your butt off and write again and practice and practice. I always tell bloggers 1,000 words a day in a Word doc and trash it, because it helps you improve your clarity and confidence, and also it helps you detach from your writing, which is, it's tough, but that helps you be real prolific, and it'll help you reach out and reach out. So practice writing. Have the clarity and confidence to say.
Number one that I want to just kind of point out is practicing writing will help make you a good writer. Now, I did receive a question from someone who had asked me to talk about the writing process. And even though, you know, I've written articles about this, and I'm sure you have too, let's just talk a little bit about how well, I'll talk about mine and you'll talk about yours. So I'll ask you first is what your writing process is, and how do you go from like idea to putting it on paper or on the internet?
Sure. Now, Lorraine, it's really routine because I've done it. I've written millions between my practice and then just also my.
Give me a minute. Wait a second.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, take a break. You guys want to see Jake for a moment? Say hi, Jake.
Sorry, it's really dry in here, and I'm sipping tea, but I guess it's not enough. I think I just needed some more water. Okay, so back to the writing process. Let's hear yours.
Sure. For me, it's just I practiced so much, and I made such a commitment to just writing and writing and writing, where it became habitual. Where basically now, especially for like blogging from paradise, I'll look around, I'll get emails from people, questions, or they email me with problems, or I'll look on Quora. I'll look on Quora in the blogging tips category and see what people are talking about, what they're struggling with. I may check on Facebook groups. I'll even check the comments on my blog, and then I get an idea seed. And I'm like, okay, this is something people want help with. They're having a problem. I could provide a solution. So from there, I just go through. Sometimes I freeform it and I kind of go just with my intuition, but usually I construct an outline. A lot of those tips, steps, posts are popular because, again, we like that step by step. It helps us think in an orderly fashion. So I list things out, and sometimes I start with an intro, but a lot of times I just go through the list. I go through the steps. I go through the tips. Like usually I don't go for something this common, but 5 tips to drive blog traffic or something like that. And I'll go through. At this point, I really don't have to do any research because I've read a lot of blogs over a decade and I know how to do it and I have my experience. But if I do need to research, I'll check top blogs in my niche. Usually I don't need to, kind of get a little bit of due diligence stuff down there, and then I write. And it really is that simple, but it is uncomfortable when you're new to writing because you're going to second guess. And this is why I suggest first draft, go straight through. If you muck up 15 times, that's okay. Don't go back and do it line by line because you'll cut off the flow of words. Like you said, from idea to your meat suit, to the fingers, to the laptop, you'll keep stopping and you'll cut that flow. So you absolutely cannot do that. And write one draft, first draft straight through. And then after, you could go in and chop it up, do your editing, figure out what you want to do with it. But just outline, idea seed for your blogging niche or even for an ebook. Think about, what are people having issues with? Cover it from a simple perspective. Simple, simple, simple. We really want to simplify things as much as possible so people can understand it, so they could use it, so they can consume and use right away. And then just, maybe 2 drafts, maybe 3 drafts, to let that first draft ride. And after you write the first draft of the blog post, or of course the first draft of the ebook, then you could hire an editor. Or again, if you're going bare bones in the beginning, you're going super bare bones, and I get that, proofread it yourself. But I love reading things out loud, because when you read stuff out loud, you could hear it and realize, ooh, that doesn't sound too good. Or, maybe I want to switch things up, or maybe it's time to write a whole new draft. But really, though, more than anything, Lorraine, write just for practice every day. It doesn't have to be on your blog, and I don't suggest that you should put it on your blog, especially as a newbie. And then you'll just gain confidence and clarity in finding your voice, which is very different for everybody. Now, one of my ebooks on Amazon, it's one of the highest rated books, and it's How to Find Your Writing Voice. It has 49 reviews. All of them are 5-star. I just give people permission to write how they are intended to write, which could be very different from how other people write. And that's the beauty of it. Like, no two snowflakes are alike. Our writing voices are going to be very different too, but beautiful when it's us writing from the heart. And that's really where the practice comes in. So that's a little bit of my process. And now you could share.
Yeah, and I wanted to just comment on that, a couple of points that you made too about just writing and getting everything down first. That's really, really important, because people often get hung up on trying to make things perfect the first time around. And that's not going to happen. That is why there's a difference between the writing process and the editing process. And people just don't seem to get that. I mean, they expect perfection immediately. And, and I'm the same, and I'm a writer and an editor. And even for me, when I type, I usually type my blog posts up in Word. And so I can see if I've made, a typo. And I am, I'm the type of person that I can't handle looking at a typo on the screen. I've got to fix it right away. And so I edit as I go, which is wrong. And I know it's wrong, but I can't help it. It's because of my perfectionistic tendencies. And those tendencies, well, my clients love them because, I make their words perfect. For me as a writer, it drives me insane, because it often hinders me from, that stream of consciousness process of writing, of getting everything out on the first draft. And so, like you, I take the idea that's in my head, and I take the problem that people are facing. I instead of looking at Quora, I usually look at the questions that I'm receiving either through social media or an email. And I also take a look at the search terms that people are searching for when they land on my site, when Google refers somebody to my website as, the solution to their question. And that's actually how, when I wrote about the Google circles, like, there was nothing online about, Google Plus circles and what's Google Plus and all that. And people were, they were being sent to some like random article on my site that didn't answer their questions. And so I took a look at that, and I thought, okay, here's all of these, there's like a dozen questions here, and they're all being sent to some article that was like not even relevant. And so I took it upon myself to write about the Google Plus circles and the questions people had. I listed all the questions, I provided all the answers, and then, it turned out that people ended up having more. So then I wrote a part 2 to it. But for me, it's the same kind of thing, like, I take a problem that people are having. I kind of look at it from different angles and list the different points that I want to help people. And in that sense, it's some people refer to it as a brainstorming session or a mind mapping session, where you just kind of include all of the points that you want to talk about, and then you figure out what you want to include in your article. Like you have like 5 points, say, for example, so then you'll write like 5 paragraphs, and some of them might go really in depth and some of them might not. Or, you'll have like 10 different points, so you'll have 10 different, your 10 different points will become your H2 tags for your subheadings in your blog post. And I mean, I've even written about, about that on oh, I can't remember the name of that. I think it's something about copying my writing or blogging process or something. And anyways, it talks about how to use H2 tags or H tags properly. H1's obviously the heading, so you never use H1 in your post. You'll use H2 and then H3. Sometimes you might even H4, but it's usually the H2 and 3 tags that you use, and those are for your main points and then sub points. So that's kind of the same as my process as well. I get everything out onto paper, and then I take a look back, and I use some of the techniques for editing that I actually have a free resource on my blog. It's on the resource kit page on Wording Well. There's like 5 editing techniques that are talked about in one particular post. And then there's 17 additional ones that people can pick up for free, as that's my content upgrade on that post. So if people want to join my my newsletter or email list or whatever, they get these extra bonus things. So I'll go through, a few different editing techniques, and until I come out with like a perfect finished product. And as an editor myself, it's kind of difficult to judge my own work sometimes because I'm so close to it. And so sometimes I'll just ask my mom to have a read through. I'll be like, Mom, I wrote this article, I just want to make sure it's perfect. Did I miss anything? Like, what do you think of it? And so I'll let her read it, and she'll be like, oh, you have to put a the in right here because the is missing. So then I go back and I'm just like, okay, make it all perfect, and boom, there we go. So yeah, I mean, it's that the writing and editing process though is such a hard concept to understand for some people, because they, I got asked the other day in a messenger how to write an article. And I look, and I'm like looking at this question. I'm like, okay, first of all, how come this person is asking me and not Google? Because I mean, how do you write an article? That's not just like a 1-sentence answer. That's like a blog post answer.
Yeah.
So here's me Googling how to write an article. And I come up with, there's like, how Google will show like there's 6 steps or whatever, and then continued on, whatever. So I take a screenshot of that, plus I copy the link, I send it to the person. He's like, oh, thanks. Because and he's asking about, in the tech field, right? Because I'm not a techie person. I mean, heck, I'm lucky that I figured out this Hangout on Air today. It's been so long since I did a Hangout on Air way back in 2013. I did a couple of them, and they were completely different. The process now of getting, something posted directly to YouTube is completely different than how it used to be. So, here's me thinking, like 5 years ago, I can't believe even in 5 years how much has changed. And it's just like, okay, so I was able to figure it out. We did our little test. I actually did our little test video. But yeah, I mean, like, there's so many different things that different questions people have. And I don't understand why people don't use Google and make Google their
It's so easy. It's like, so easy.
It's so like Google's so smart, it'll give you the first link usually if you ask them something. I mean, oh my God. But no, it's like, let's put Lorraine at like 4 o'clock in the morning because, she's the only person I know that's a writer. And I just have to laugh because, the guy said literally, well, you're a blogger, don't you know? Because right away I said, ask Google. It's like, oh, people need to learn to make Google their friend.
This is true. This is true. But actually, Lorraine, I'm on a hard stop now because it's 5 and the dogs are going to eat me.
Yeah, I
got to do the whole thing. I have to work out a couple of meetings I have tonight. So I'm going to have to, one of the rare times I'm on live, I do the live videos on Facebook, but yeah, no, it was a blast to chat, and maybe we could do one down the road if you want. It was so much fun.
Well, I'm a real pro at this now, Ryan. I mean, I did 2 tonight, and they were both successful. So hey,
awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, definitely fun with it. It was so much fun, and you're great on camera. You're natural, I mean, live especially, because that's a different animal. So run with it. Yeah,
for sure. And thank you so much for being able to join me and, set this up. Like, I really wanted to do this when you were in Thailand, but it just, the timing and everything just didn't work out. And And, you know, I think I'm going to have to explain to people how to do a Google Hangout on air, because when I first went to my creator studio, it said you have to enable live streaming, and that takes like 24 hours to activate. So that night that we were originally going to do it, like, well, boom, already 24 hours we were delayed. And then, you know, with your traveling from Thailand and everything, we just couldn't do it. So I'm really glad that we were able to reschedule and do it tonight. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Lorraine. I appreciate it.
And we'll have to both share this link on Facebook and stuff. And, you know, hey, if you want to blog about it too, that'd be awesome. And
I'll
we'll definitely do that.
Tomorrow, yeah, probably tomorrow here. I have my one post ready for a few hours, or probably like an hour or two. But yeah, by tomorrow I should have it up and we'll spread the word. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, it was great chatting with you, and I'm going to end this now so you can go feed those puppies.
Will do. Thanks, Lorraine. Good night, squeakers.
Bye, Ryan.